If you've got a personal story you'd like to pass down to your grandkids, but are worried that they'll get bored very easily if it's just a pile of text, how about turning it into a comic book? In this video, I'll show you how that's done. As an example, I'm going to use the memories of Tim Pearson of his time working at Byrne & Sons Butchers on the road Mitcham. So the simplest approach is to put the story into a text file. Select all as text and copy it to a clipboard. In the browser, I am logged in, and the idea is I'm going to find Notebook LM. Yeah, Google says this is a research tool. And it's true, it is a research tool. It's an AI-powered research partner. Welcome to Notebook LM. This is the first time I'm using it on this account. Yes, I'll have emails. And it says, okay, what do you want me to research? This option here, it says copy text. I'm going to paste in what I copied to the clipboard. And that's Tim's story of his work in the butcher shop, 1975, 50 years ago. Insert it. So the AI has looked to the text, it's given a summary, it's given it a title, Saturday Boy at Hearn & Sons Butchers. This personal account illustrates the busy life of a Saturday boy working at a traditional Mitcham butcher shop during the mid-1970s. So as I say, this is a research tool, so you could ask questions about this text. What was daily life like for a Saturday boy? How did the butchers maintain and clean the shop? So the AI will now look at the text and try and work out how to answer your question. But we're not actually researching this. What we want to do is turn this into something visual. So over here, under the studio, there are various options. We can produce an audio overview, which is an American-style podcast with two American voices chatting about the story. Video overview can generate an explainer video. And there are various reports and quizzes and stuff. But let's go here, the slide deck. Generate an AI slide deck. This is a slide presentation based on the source. Now if we just pressed here, it would do a default one. But what I want to do is go here and go for options. Within the options where it says describe the slide deck you want to create, I'm going to tell it to use the style of a British 1970s comic book. Zip. Generating slide deck. So we'll come back to that in a minute. So that took about 10 minutes to actually create. And you'll see the title of it down here, The Saturday Boy. Let's have a look. We use this button here to expand the viewer. And here's our comic book. How many slides we got here? This is 10 slides. Now AI can make mistakes, but this result is almost perfect. All the text is correct. It's correctly spelt, correctly written. The only mistake I think I've seen is on this one here. Meet the crew, the rogues gallery. And I have to refer back to the text to make sure we've got all the people. So we've got Ken Wright, the boss, Bert Huddy, Ernie, Bernie Taylor, Keith Badham, Clive Jones. So who's this guy? Can't see a reference to him in the text. I'm going to ask the AI to remove this box altogether. There's a button up here, revise. You need to put an instruction in to get it to remove that cell altogether. And there's the challenge, trying to get it to do it properly. On the top row of the rogues gallery, remove the box on on the right that has the name SMLTE. On the top row of the Rogues gallery, remove the box on the right that has the name Smelty. Generate revised deck. So again, this might take 10 minutes, so we'll come back to that. Okay, so the second version of this slide deck has been created. Let's have a look at that slide that we needed to be corrected. Whoa, it's done the right job. It's got rid of that rogue. So I'm going to print them off now, and the way to do that is to exit from this view by tapping that X button, and down here where it's got the name of the presentation that we just looked at, 3-dot menu, download as PDF, download document as PDF. So that's gone into my download folder. Open it up and choose print. So let's have a look at the result. This is the text. Boy in a man's world, sometime 1975, looking for a job on a Saturday job. Talks about ordering to various addresses. He talks about the people he worked with, what was involved in the work. And this is the comic book that was produced from it. The Saturday Boy, a boy in a man's world. Life at Herne and Son Butchers, Mitcham, circa about 1975. So the text is good. It's all printed correctly. The images used for the characters will vary from page to page. If that's a concern, that can be fixed, but that's a bit more involved to explain. Leave a comment if you want to see a more involved video on how to actually produce fairly consistent characters. For example, you can see here he's been offered the job by the boss of the butcher, but then here the boss is described as looking like that. It's two totally different people. There is a way of achieving consistency across the whole comic book. Leave a comment. And if this was to be put into a YouTube video, you might want to actually consider not mentioning full names, but if this is just for personal use within your own family, it gives your grandkids something for them to remember. If you want to give this to your grandkids, and hopefully they'll come back to you and say, "Granddad, what happened then?" But I think this is quite good. And goes through the start of the day. Massive breakfast. I like the way the text actually lines up with the real things. Look, you can see there's an egg in that frying pan and it says eggs. Can't see the steak, can't see the sausage, but you can see the bacon. The delivery route mentions the White Hart. An address. Fish and chips or Wimpy for lunch. I think there might even be the Wimpy sign there. Fred Gray's yard. That's repeated. Never mind. So that, yes, one. Yeah, the numbers don't quite sort of line up, but never mind. You can always remove those at a later date. These can always be removed by doing that revision like I showed earlier on. In between the heavy lifting, there was always a chicken or two waiting to be trussed. Obviously, my job, he said. The cleaning. Washing up. A bank run at 3 o'clock. Always tooled up. A gleaming razor-sharp trussing needle, the weapon of choice. Not to scale, but then again, it's a comic, so it's illustrating the idea rather than being an accurate representation. 3:30, the payoff, a mere £2. But then again, this is 1975, 50 years ago, £2 actually went a fair way. I like this in as much that all the labels are correct. Yes, yes, sausages, eggs, yes, chops, yes, ham, bacon, correct. Another representation of the manager. And it concludes with quite an experience working with men for the first time. Is always a laugh. Decades later, tracking down manager Ken Wright and chatting to him on his doorstep. Now, it's interesting to point this out that in the story itself, the mention of meeting Ken years later was here at the beginning of the description of the butchers. So the AI can actually work it out that this is an event that occurs later on, and that's why it was put in at the end. All in all, I think this is actually quite a good thing, and it may well interest the grandkids. They might go, oh, that's interesting. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Press the like button if you did. Consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Leave comments. Bye for now.